hear that? Something up the canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something right there.
The night was quiet, too quiet. In the deep woods near Mount St. Helens, something was moving. The team could hear it. They could feel it watching them from the darkness. "Do you hear that?" one of them whispered. "Something's up the canyon." "Yeah, I hear it," came the reply. "There's something right there." This wasn't just any group of weekend campers. These men had come prepared. They brought military gear, high-tech cameras, and years of experience. Most importantly, they brought determination. They were here to find proof of something that most people said didn't exist. Bigfoot. The team returns. The Expedition X team had been to this place before. It was called Ape Canyon. The name alone sent chills down their spines. This valley, hidden in the dense wilderness near Mount St. Helens, had a reputation. Strange sounds echoed through these woods. People saw things they couldn't explain, and some never came back the same. But this time was different. The team wasn't chasing stories or old legends. They had real data, heat signatures from their last trip, recordings of strange sounds, evidence that something big was living in these woods.
Oh, look. Oh, where did it go? Damn it.
Leading the group was Joe Bongiovanni. He started the Cascade Sasquatch Research Organization. Joe had his own reason for being here. Back in 2000, he believed he came face to face with a Sasquatch. That moment changed his life. It wasn't about believing anymore. It was about proving. With Joe was Jim Snodgrass. He was a seasoned investigator. Together, they had studied this region for years. Most of the time, their equipment helped them prove that strange sightings were just normal animals. A strange shape in the woods was usually an elk. Weird sounds were often just coyotes in the distance. But tonight felt different. Tonight, they were hoping to prove the opposite. The team didn't come in an ordinary truck. They brought something special. It was a custom-built Humvee that cost $120,000. This wasn't just a vehicle. It was a mobile command center designed specifically for hunting Bigfoot. The Humvee was loaded with surveillance equipment. Some of it was military-grade technology. On top sat a thermal turret system. It was the same type used on Black Hawk helicopters. This turret could scan the forest from high above. Even in total darkness, it could spot anything warm-blooded moving through the trees. Jim Snodgrass was driving. He navigated the rough terrain like a pro. Inside the vehicle, night vision gear replaced normal headlights. From the outside, the Humvee looked completely dark. No lights were on. But from inside, Jim could see everything. Every tree, every shadow, every small movement in the forest.
All right, Jess, I'm up. Really good view up here. So if anything's moving down below here, I think I'm for sure gonna get on the thermal.
With our eye in the sky in place, and the Humvee in stealth mode, we start our patrol.
Their plan was simple. Stay hidden, stay quiet. Use the technology to find whatever was moving through the canyon. They weren't interested in ghost stories. They wanted proof. "Really good view up here," Jim said into his radio. "If anything's moving down below, I think I'm going to get it on thermal for sure." The eye in the sky. Ground coverage wasn't enough for this team. They needed a better view. That's where Phil came in. While the others stayed with the vehicle, Phil climbed high into the forest canopy. 100 feet above the ground, he hung safely in a tree. Phil carried a high-powered thermal camera. From his elevated position, he could scan the entire valley below. While the team on the ground searched level by level, Phil could watch huge areas of forest all at once. The team knew that Bigfoot, if it existed, would be massive. But the thick trees provided perfect hiding spots. Phil's position gave them a key advantage. Most animals don't look up when they sense danger. This made Phil nearly invisible to anything below. Phil's camera was connected to the rest of the team's systems. Anything he saw, they saw too, in real time. He was like an eye in the sky, constantly feeding live video into the Humvee's monitors. The forest was completely silent. The only sound was the steady hum of their equipment. No one spoke. No flashlights were used. They operated in complete stealth mode. Their thermal and infrared cameras let them work without disturbing the natural setting. Phil kept watching from above. He scanned the dark shapes between the trees. This wasn't a fast chase. It was slow, quiet, and extremely careful. Every move had to count. They knew success wouldn't come quickly. In the world of Bigfoot tracking, you don't chase. You wait, you watch, and you stay ready. The first heat signature. Hours passed. The team waited in complete silence. Their eyes stayed fixed on the thermal camera screens. Patience was everything in a search like this. Then something changed.
Nothing over there.
Is that a, wait, hang on. I think I saw something over there. Stop.
Jim's thermal camera suddenly lit up. A faint heat signature appeared in the distance. Something was out there, and it was moving. At first, they couldn't tell what it was, but they quickly realized this wasn't a normal animal. It wasn't shaped like a deer or elk. It wasn't a bear. It was too big, and most importantly, it was standing upright. The team froze. They stayed completely still. No one made a sound. The shape on the screen moved fast. Too fast. Before they could study it more, it vanished. Just like that, it was gone.
What the is this? There's something right there.
My team is searching for the truth behind sightings of Bigfoot in the shadow of Mount St. Helens, and the hunt is heating up.
They didn't have enough time to be sure what it was. No clear image, no confirmation, but they had seen something, and that was enough to get their hearts racing. This wasn't the first time they had seen mysterious heat signatures in this area. Over the years, each time they got close, the figure would disappear. It was almost like the creature knew they were coming. It always vanished just in time. But this time, they weren't backing off. They became even more focused. They adjusted their equipment. They scanned the area again. They stayed ready. Waiting wasn't working. The team decided to try something bold. They weren't going to stay quiet anymore. They needed to draw the creature out of hiding. They started broadcasting sounds. These weren't random noises. They used recordings of howls and calls that had been linked to Bigfoot sightings in the past. They played them through speakers, letting the sounds echo through the canyon. The team waited. At first, nothing happened. Then, something answered. A distant sound came from the shadows. A howl, then another. It was faint but clear. Something was out there, and it was responding. The team stayed quiet. Their breath caught in their throats. Their eyes stayed glued to the thermal screens. The heat signatures returned. They flickered on the camera. They were back. This time, the team was ready. They zoomed in. They tracked every movement. The shapes weren't easy to see clearly, but they were moving. They weren't acting like regular animals. It felt like they were aware that someone was watching them. Jim's voice came through the radio. "Stay calm, everyone. We're close. Stay sharp." Then they saw them. Two large heat signatures appeared on the camera. Both were bigger than any known animal. Not bears, not elk, not anything they had ever seen before. One figure moved left, slipping behind a large tree. The other stayed in place, just on the edge of full view. But it was definitely there, clear, alive, and massive.
I think we got something. Is it moving, though, is the question. Yeah, I think it's moving. Oh, we got something. What is that?
The team's excitement grew. This was the closest they had ever been. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They just watched. But then, as fast as it came, it was gone. The figures disappeared again. No footsteps, no branches breaking, no rustling of leaves, just gone. The team didn't give up. They had come too far. They had seen too much. They moved deeper into the valley, carefully, quietly. Their eyes scanned the trees. Their cameras searched every corner. No one knew exactly what they had seen, but they knew it had been real. Whatever it was, it didn't want to be found. Phil, still high in the tree above, adjusted his thermal camera. He tried to find a better angle. He hoped to catch another glimpse of the figures. He shifted his position slightly. Then he slipped. It was just a small movement, just a little noise, but it was enough. Enough to alert whatever was out there. The creature vanished again. Not a sound, no trace, just gone. Phil was frustrated. You could hear it in his voice as he spoke into the radio. "I had it right there," he said, "and it got away again." The moment was lost, but they weren't ready to give up. The legend of Ape Canyon. As dawn approached, the team thought about where they were. Ape Canyon wasn't just a name. It had a dark history that went back nearly 100 years. In the 1920s, 5 miners were working in this same area. They were far from town, deep in the wilderness. Just a group of men searching for gold. One night, they returned to their cabin after a long day of work. That's when the attack began. Large rocks started hitting the cabin walls. The noise was loud and violent. The miners were startled. They rushed to the windows. Then they saw them. Huge, hairy creatures stood in the darkness. They were watching. The figures were tall, taller than any bear. They looked like giant apes. The rocks kept flying. The miners believed the creatures were trying to break into the cabin. Scared for their lives, the men grabbed their guns. They opened fire into the night. Rifles, revolvers, anything they had. They hoped it would scare the creatures away. But the attack didn't stop. The figures moved closer. They growled. They reached through the windows. They tried to grab the miners' tools and weapons. The men stayed inside, terrified. They held their ground. Finally, as the sun rose, the creatures disappeared. No sign of them remained. But the miners were deeply shaken. They packed up and left the area. They never returned. Years passed. Then a man named Mark Mersell heard the story. As a young boy, he had seen a reenactment of the attack on television. It stayed with him. As he grew up, he became a land surveyor. He decided to look into the story.
I've never heard of attacks that hardcore before, so that's not normal.
No, that's unusual.
Have people actually found the cabin that they claimed they stayed in?
No.
Mark talked to local people. He dug into old records. He searched for clues, and he found more stories. People who claimed to see strange creatures in the same area. Some believed it was Sasquatch. Mark wrote a book about it. He called it Mountain Devil, the 1924 Ape Canyon attack and its aftermath. It became well known in the world of Bigfoot research. The story left a lasting impact on the local community. People started calling the creature the Mountain Devil. Even those who didn't believe the story had to admit that too many people had seen something strange. To this day, people still go to Ape Canyon. They bring high-tech gear, thermal cameras, and drones. They search for answers. But no one has ever captured clear evidence. The mystery of Ape Canyon lives on. What they found. Even though the team didn't catch a clear image of the creature on camera, they didn't walk away empty-handed. They had something, and that something raised more questions than it answered. What they captured was thermal footage. These images showed heat signatures moving through the dark forest. The signatures didn't belong to any animals they were familiar with. The team had plenty of experience identifying common wildlife. They knew what deer, elk, and bears looked like on thermal cameras, but these shapes didn't match. The shapes were too large. They moved differently. And most importantly, they moved upright. The shapes didn't walk on 4 legs. They weren't shaped like mountain lions or wolves. They didn't even look like large bears. They moved in a way that was more human-like, but bigger, heavier, and yet faster than expected.
Oh, yeah. That is fresh scat. Look at this.
And look, almost looks like something dug out the earth. It seems like something was marking its territory.
The team also collected a scat sample, an animal dropping that they believed might provide clues. They sent it to a lab for testing. The results came back, bear. It was bear scat. But that still didn't explain what they had seen. Bears don't walk upright for long distances. They don't move with that kind of speed or purpose. And they don't usually vanish silently into the woods when being tracked. During the night, the team had recorded strange sounds echoing through the forest. Vocalizations, howls, and calls that didn't match any known species. To make sense of it, they gave the recordings to wildlife audio experts. The experts tested the sounds. They compared them against known animal calls. They tried wolves, coyotes, and bears. None of them matched. None of the animals produced vocalizations that sounded like what the team had heard. The recordings remained unexplained. They didn't sound artificial. They didn't sound like equipment errors, but they also didn't match any known animal species. Was it Bigfoot? Was it a bear behaving strangely? Or was it something else entirely? Something unknown, still hiding deep in the forests? The team couldn't say. They didn't have clear answers. But what they did have was a growing mystery. and more questions than ever before. The Winnebago incident. The story didn't end with just the team's experience. There were others who had their own encounters. One of the most puzzling reports came from Pennsylvania. A man named John Reed was camping with his girlfriend. It was just another quiet trip until something unexpected happened. They were inside their 1973 Winnebago, enjoying the calm of the night. Everything was still and peaceful. Then something moved past the window. It was large, it was dark, it was covered in hair. John Reed said it looked like Bigfoot. Then it got stranger. The figure didn't just pass by. It began throwing rocks directly at the outside light of the Winnebago. It didn't attack the people inside. It didn't try to get in. It only targeted the light, almost as if it didn't want to be seen.
And as soon as I did it, something stood up on her side of the truck. Something stood up. She seen the eyes glaring in the light of the truck, stood up and went up this way into the woods.
It seemed like the creature was trying to knock out the light to stay hidden. That raised questions. Why would a wild animal throw rocks at a light source? Why would it get that close to a camper only to run away again? Reed wasn't just a random camper. He was a Bigfoot enthusiast. He had founded a Bigfoot hunting group. He claimed to have seen the creature not once, but twice before. But this time, he didn't take a photo. And that's what made people skeptical. In a world where almost everyone carries a phone, why didn't he get a picture? Why no video? Even those who believe in Bigfoot found it strange. The creature passed right by a window, just inches away, and yet no image was captured. The story got attention, but it also brought doubt. Still, Reed insisted on what he saw. And as strange as his story seemed, it wasn't the first time Bigfoot had been blamed for bizarre encounters near campsites. Vehicle vandalism. Stories like the Winnebago incident weren't rare. Over the years, people have blamed Bigfoot for damaging personal property. Sometimes it was cabins, sometimes it was sheds, and many times it was vehicles. People reported dents, scratches, and broken parts. Some believe Bigfoot was behind these attacks. One of the most well-known stories came from 2011. John Bindernagel, a respected Bigfoot researcher, traveled to western Siberia. He went to investigate reports of the Yeti, the Russian version of Bigfoot. While there, he found something strange. Trees, large ones, had been snapped and twisted. To Bindernagel, it was more than just storm damage. He believed these breaks were signs of Bigfoot behavior. Other researchers had said the same thing, pointing to twisted branches and tree nests as clues that something big and powerful had moved through. Back in the US, there were more vehicle-related stories. In 2008, a couple in South Carolina reported that their 2002 Dodge Grand Caravan had been vandalized. It wasn't just scratches. The vehicle had bite marks. Part of the fender was torn off. The couple couldn't explain it. Some people believed it could have been Bigfoot. There were no photos, no footprints. No one saw the creature, just the damage. That led to debate. Skeptics said it could have been a bear or raccoons. Wild animals often break into cars, especially if they smell food inside. It's not uncommon. But in this case, the damage looked different. The strange pattern. There's something strange about all these Bigfoot stories. Despite all the property damage, cars, cabins, lights, Bigfoot is rarely, if ever, accused of hurting people. That's unusual. Bears attack people. Moose have charged hikers. Wild boars can be aggressive. But Bigfoot? Never a direct assault. It's strange, especially for a creature said to be large, strong, and capable of serious destruction. It throws rocks, it breaks things, it damages vehicles, but it avoids humans. It watches from the trees, it stays hidden. It disappears the moment anyone gets close. And that's part of the mystery. Why damage things but never attack people? Why appear and vanish? Why are there so many sightings but no proof? Some people think it's all fake, just myths, misidentified animals, maybe hoaxes. Others believe it's real, but that Bigfoot is smarter than we realize, cautious, intelligent, avoiding us on purpose. No one knows the truth. But one thing is certain, the mystery hasn't gone away. Whether Bigfoot is real or not, the mystery continues to grow. People still talk about the creature. They still head into the woods with cameras and recorders. And they still come back with strange stories, odd footprints, and sounds no one can explain. Something is out there, and the Expedition X team knows it. For Joe, Jim, and Phil, the The search didn't end with this expedition. They had seen too much to give up now. They captured strange heat signatures. They heard chilling howls. They watched large shapes vanish into the trees. Each time, they were just seconds away from proof, and each time it slipped away. But they returned again and again. They were convinced they were getting closer to revealing what has been hiding in the dark for so long. Ape Canyon has been a hotspot for nearly a century. In 1924, miners reported a terrifying night. Rocks thrown at their cabin, large creatures outside, arms reaching through windows. Their story became legend, giving birth to the name Mountain Devil, what we now call Bigfoot. Decades later, people still visit Ape Canyon. Some come armed with high-tech gear. Others are guided only by curiosity, all searching for the same answer: is it real? So far, no one has captured clear evidence, but strange events keep piling up. In Pennsylvania, John Reed watched a tall, hairy figure pass his Winnebago and vanish. In South Carolina, a van was found with bite marks and a torn fender. In Siberia, trees stood twisted and broken. Always the same pattern: damage without witnesses, signs without proof, and sightings that vanish before they can be explained. Again and again, Bigfoot is blamed but never proven. Still, people return. Because if it's not Bigfoot, then what is it? Why do so many people describe the same upright figure? Why do the sounds and movements defy identification? Why do thermal cameras capture shapes that no one can ever quite catch? These are the questions that keep the search alive. The final word. The Expedition X team isn't done. They know what they saw, and they believe they're close. Maybe next time it won't just be a flicker on a screen or a shadow in the trees. Maybe next time the world will finally see what's been out there all along. Until then, the legend continues. In the forests of Mount St. Helens, in the valley of Ape Canyon, in the campsites of Pennsylvania, in the broken trees of Siberia. And everywhere, something big, quiet, and mysterious stays just out of reach. The chase is far from over.